You keep asking for breakthrough. But what if the only thing standing between you and it is you, not your past, not your boss, not your lack of time or money or support? You. See, most people don't lose because of what they lack. They lose because of what they tolerate. They pray for more, but they protect the patterns that block the blessing. They want freedom, but they stay loyal to habits that keep them caged. And the most dangerous prison isn't the one they built on purpose. It's the one made of comfort, familiarity, excuses wrapped in good intentions, laziness dressed up as waiting on the right time. Here's the truth. Your blessing is not delayed. It's parked, waiting for you to stop asking for the miracle and become the person who can carry it. You say you want the door to open, but every time it cracks, you slam it shut with fear, with overthinking, with old programming that says you're not ready. But here's a secret no one tells you. The blessing doesn't arrive when you feel ready. It arrives when you act ready. So if you've been circling the same mountain, praying for elevation while digging yourself deeper, it's time to look in the mirror, not at the sky, because God didn't withhold the breakthrough. You've been blocking it with your patterns, your doubt, your delay. And today, that stops. Let's talk about how to get out of your own way and finally walk into the life that's been waiting on you. Absolutely. Here's the opening of your cinematic, emotionally gripping voiceover script titled, "You Prayed for a Breakthrough. You Begged for a Blessing. You Cried into your pillow asking God why the doors weren't opening, why the people kept leaving, why the opportunities never seemed to last." But here's the truth most won't say out loud. It's not that your blessing didn't come. It's that you weren't ready to carry it. We sabotage what we're not prepared to steward. We break what we're too immature to build. And we run from what we say we want when it finally stands in front of us. You think life is withholding something from you, but more often than not, it's protecting the thing you keep asking for from you. Because if God gave it to you too soon, you would have ruined it with your fear. You would have misused it with your pride. You would have quit on it the moment it required more discipline than desire. See, you weren't denied, you were being developed. But development doesn't always feel like a gift. It feels like isolation. It feels like obscurity. It feels like nothing is happening when, in fact, everything is happening beneath the surface. Because the seed always breaks before it becomes anything beautiful, and the shell must die before the roots can take form. But here's the secret. The seed doesn't sabotage its future people. Do we get in our own way? Not because we're weak, but because we haven't yet decided to be strong. We haven't yet chosen to master our own minds. We keep praying for next-level favor, while operating on first-level faith. We want blessings big enough to build a legacy, yet habits small enough to keep us comfortable. And that contradiction. That's where self-sabotage begins. It starts quietly with the excuses you justify in private, with the dreams you delay until you're ready, with the vision you water down so no one thinks you're doing too much. But let me ask you something. Who taught you to dim your light to fit the comfort zone of people who stopped growing? Who taught you to fear success more than you fear regret? Because whether you realize it or not, every day you shrink yourself to fit into a smaller version of your destiny. You rob yourself of the very blessing you once begged for. You keep saying, "I'm waiting on God." But maybe God's been waiting on you, waiting for you to stop doubting your own anointing, waiting for you to stop using perfectionism as procrastination, waiting for you to step out before you're certain, to act before you're affirmed, to move even when you're misunderstood. Because clarity is not the beginning. It is the result of motion. You don't wait to feel ready. You move until you are. And yet so many of us sabotage our own momentum. Not because we don't want to succeed, but because we're afraid of what success will demand from us. You see, mediocrity is comfortable. It's safe. It's quiet. No one bothers you when you stay average. But the moment you start rising, the attacks come. The doubts whisper. The temptation to return to who you used to be creeps back in like a familiar song. Why? Because your old life doesn't die quietly. It fights for relevance. It begs for your attention. It lures you back with the illusion of certainty, even when that certainty is built on your own limitations. But if you want the blessing, you must bury the version of you that keeps blocking it. You must silence the voice in your head that says, "Who do you think you are?" and answer it with conviction. I am the one who refuses to waste what heaven put inside me. Because blessings don't fall into your lap. They rise in proportion to your capacity to receive them. And capacity isn't about how much you want, it's about how much you can handle. Can you handle the pressure without folding? Can you stay consistent when the applause stops? Can you choose discipline over distraction not once, but every single day? That's the war most never win, not the war around them, but the war within. And it's a war that's fought in secret, when you wake up before the sun and choose purpose over pleasure. When you say no to shortcuts because you're building something eternal. When you forgive yourself for who you used to be and become someone new, someone worthy of the very thing you've been waiting for. Because if you don't transform, you'll sabotage the very thing that was meant to elevate you. You'll keep repeating the same cycles, with different faces, different jobs, different cities, but the same you. And eventually you'll start to believe the lie that you were never meant to win, that maybe God forgot about you, that maybe you just weren't good enough. But that's the trap. Self-sabotage doesn't show up as sabotage. It shows up as logic. It disguises itself as wisdom. It sounds like I'm just being realistic. But realistic is just a word we use to justify staying the same. You weren't created to survive. You were created to steward, to multiply, to walk boldly in the direction of the calling on your life, to carry your blessing with grace, humility, and fire. But none of that happens until you stop being the one who breaks what's already been blessed, until you stop ghosting your own growth, until you stop putting expiration dates on your effort, until you stop giving the enemy of your potential a seat at the table you were meant to reign at. So let me ask you again, are you ready to stop sabotaging your own blessing because the next part of your life doesn't need more hope? It needs more honesty. Honesty about your patterns. Honesty about your fears. Honesty about what you're still holding on to that's been holding you back. Because if the truth sets you free, it's the lie that's been keeping you bound. And the lie you've believed the longest, that you're not worthy, that you're not ready, that you'll mess it up, is the very lie that's been delaying the miracle. But miracles don't operate on your insecurity. They operate on obedience. And obedience means moving even when you're scared, even when you don't know how it ends, even when everything in you wants to run, because you'll never receive what you don't respect. And respecting your blessing means preparing for it, long before you see it. Every storm has a voice, but most people only hear the thunder. They flinch at the lightning. They run from the rain. But the storm was never your enemy. It was your invitation. Because what looks like chaos to the untrained eye is construction to the mind that sees clearly. You asked for strength and life gave you struggle. You asked for clarity, and life gave you confusion. You asked for leadership, and life put you in situations where no one knew what to do. That wasn't punishment. That was preparation. You say you want to be unshakable. But how do you become unshakable without first being shaken? See, this world doesn't hand you power. It pressures you into discovering it. It demands you build it brick by brick in the dark with trembling hands. The storm doesn't come to take from you. It comes to strip away what never belonged in the first place. the false identities, the fragile beliefs, the excuses dressed up as logic, because storms reveal what sunshine hides. When Thomas Edison's laboratory burned to the ground, most men would have collapsed under the weight of that loss. But he didn't. He stood there, 67 years old, watching the flames with his arms crossed. And he said to his son, "Go get your mother. She'll never see a fire like this again." Edison knew something most people forget. Sometimes you need to lose what you've built so you can remember what you're made of. The fire didn't destroy him, it refined him. Within 3 weeks, that same man created the phonograph, because the storm didn't stop him, it sharpened him. What if the breakdown you're facing right now isn't the end? What if it's the forge? The hidden place where your courage is melted down. Your fear is boiled off and your real identity is poured into shape. See, no one becomes extraordinary by accident. No one becomes bold by avoiding pressure. No one becomes wise by skipping the struggle. The giants you admire: Lincoln Mandela, Oprah, Carnegie Disney. They all had storms that could have swallowed them whole. But they chose to stand inside the wind, not to avoid it, but to learn from it. They didn't pray for comfort. They prayed for the capacity to carry more. And the storm answered. But here's the hard truth. You don't get to control how the storm shows up. You only get to control how you show up in the storm. And if you show up small, if you shrink, if you stall, if you plead for ease, then the storm becomes your cage. But if you rise, if you decide to step into it with eyes wide open, it becomes your classroom, your stage, your launch pad, because the storm isn't here to crush you. It's here to crack open the version of you that was too afraid to grow. The world teaches you to run from pain, to numb it, bury it, silence it. But pain is the one thing in life that won't lie to you. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't sugarcoat. It shows up and tells you the brutal truth. You're out of alignment. You're out of integrity. You're out of time. And when you finally stop blaming the storm for being the storm, you can start learning what it came to teach you. Maybe your storm is showing you who you really trust. Maybe it's revealing how you handle pressure, how you protect your peace, how you respond when no one's watching. Whatever it is, understand this. The storm is not the enemy. Your refusal to grow inside of it is. And so today you make a choice. Not when it's easy, not when the skies are clear, but right now, while the thunder still rolls and the path is still uncertain. You choose to believe that this storm is working for you. Not because it's pleasant, but because it's powerful. Because what breaks others builds you. And that is where your power begins. You can't outrun the storm, and you were never meant to. The storm isn't the punishment, it's the preparation. It's the sculptor's chisel against the marble of your comfort. The hammer that cracks your illusion of control. The force that shakes loose everything false, everything fragile, everything borrowed. And in that shaking, something begins to rise. Because every storm reveals what you're anchored to. Some anchor to approval, some anchor to habit, some anchor to fear, but the ones who grow, they anchor to truth, they anchor to vision, they anchor to something deeper than the noise, something eternal. The storm doesn't break them, it baptizes them, it reintroduces them to themselves. Because when everything you thought was permanent is pulled away, the opinions, the security, the routine, you finally see what's left. And what's left is you. Raw, unfiltered, unmasked. No titles, no performance, no pretense. Just your soul in the mirror of adversity, staring back at you asking what now? And in that moment, you learn something that changes everything. Your true power isn't found in the calm. It's revealed in the chaos. Any boat looks steady in still water. Any voice sounds confident when there's no opposition. But the one who can stand when everything shakes, that's the one who's become unshakable. Not because they avoided the storm, but because they walked through it and didn't lose themselves. And here's the part most don't understand: the storm doesn't come to take you down. It comes to take down everything in you that can't go where you're headed. It strips away what's in the way. That need for validation, gone. That addiction to comfort, gone. That lie you told yourself, "I'm not ready," exposed, dismantled, drowned in rain. The storm is a cleansing. It's not pleasant. It's not polite. It's not painless. But it is precise. Because when you come out on the other side, you don't just survive it. You rise from it. Stronger, simpler, sharper, solid. And this is when your energy changes. People will look at you and sense something different. They won't be able to explain it, but they'll feel it, because you've walked through what they still fear, and you're still standing. That's what the storm gives you. Weight, presence, gravitas, not the fake kind that talks loud or posts motivational captions, but the real kind that doesn't need to be said, it's felt. Because the storm didn't just teach you how to endure, it taught you how to embody. Embody clarity, embody discipline, embody purpose. And when you embody something, you no longer have to convince the world. You become the evidence. So when the next storm comes, and it will, you don't panic. You prepare. You adjust your sails, and you remember, the storm isn't your enemy. It's your gym, your classroom, your forge, where weakness is burned off and strength is built brick by brick in the fire of resistance. Most will run, some will hide, a few will wait it out. But you'll walk right into it, not because you enjoy the pain, but because you finally understand what it's making of you. And that makes you unstoppable. And now we arrive at the part the world never prepares you for: the silence after the storm. Not the noise of crisis, not the crash of fear, but that still, eerie calm. The space where most people misread their reality. They think the quiet means the worst is over. But for those who understand growth, that stillness isn't the end. It's the beginning of construction. Because pain breaks you open, but it's presence that builds you up. This is where the builders go to work. While others are licking wounds, blaming fate, asking why it all happened, the ones who rise begin stacking bricks in silence. Every lesson, every scar, every broken piece, it all becomes material. You see, the strongest structures in the world are never made in daylight. They're forged underground, quiet, unseen, under pressure. Ask any mountain, any monument, any man who's ever become more than what he was. They'll tell you the same thing. There is no elevation without excavation. You don't rise until you've been reduced. You don't get lifted until you've been leveled. That's the paradox most people never grasp. They curse the fall, not realizing it's the first requirement of flight. That storm in your life didn't come to destroy you. It came to dig so you could build on bedrock, not sand. But here's where it gets harder. The storm leaves, but your choices remain. Because now you're standing in the rubble. And what you build next, that's on you. This is the moment the world won't clap for. No spotlight, no applause, just you and your tools. And the decision to either pick them up or put them down. And that choice, that's where character is born. Because anyone can dream. Anyone can post about purpose. But what do you do after the dream gets torn in half? What do you do when the things you prayed for didn't show up? Or worse, showed up and left? Most people fold. They go back to comfort. They shrink to survive. But survival was never the point. You weren't made to endure the storm. You were made to evolve through it. There's a fire that only suffering can start. And if you let it, it'll burn away every excuse, every lie you believed about your limits, every story someone else told you about who you could never become. And from those ashes, you'll find something unshakable. Call it confidence. Call it clarity. Call it calling. But it's deeper than that. It's the knowing that if life stripped everything away, you could still build again. And this time, you'd build it better. Because the storm didn't just rearrange your world, it rearranged you. Your vision, sharper. Your voice, firmer. Your values anchored. You no longer tolerate what drains you. You no longer ask permission to rise. You no longer pray for things you're unwilling to pursue. That's the shift. You stop begging for less pressure and start building more power. You stop asking the world to be softer and start becoming stronger. You stop waiting to be saved and realize the storm was your summons to become the savior of your own story. Because no one's coming to finish the rebuild for you. No one's going to hand you peace, purpose, or progress. But the tools. They were dropped at your feet the day everything fell apart. And now, you pick them up. You go quiet and you build. The people who leave the deepest impact on this world, the ones whose names echo through generations, are never the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who were tested, beaten, forgotten. They're the ones who walked through the storm and didn't just survive. They changed in it. You want strength. Stop asking for ease. You want clarity. Stop hiding from chaos. The storm you're facing isn't punishment. It's the resistance your soul needs to grow. And it will break your illusions before it builds your identity. It will remove the shallow, the false, the unnecessary. Because destiny does not rise in the soft glow of comfort, it rises in the pressure of becoming. Look around. How many people do you know that gave up at the first sign of turbulence? They prayed for elevation. But when the air got thin, they panicked. They asked for purpose, but when the purpose demanded their patience, they disappeared. You want to know why the top is lonely because it's earned. Through discomfort, through discipline, through delay. This is where most people fall off, not from lack of desire, but from lack of endurance. And here's the paradox. The storm that feels like it's taking everything from you is actually giving you something far more valuable: grit. It teaches you how to get back up when there's no applause. It teaches you how to show up when your mind says quit. It teaches you to listen to that one voice inside you that whispers, keep going, even when everything else screams, give in. You are not here to play small. You were not designed for shallow waters. You are built for depth, for wild waves and sacred silence. You see, some storms come to shake you. Others come to shape you. But the rarest kind, the kind you're in right now, they come to sharpen you. Not just your will, your perception, your decisions, your identity. Because you don't rise just by setting goals. You rise by surviving what was meant to bury you. Ask any warrior, any creator, any world changer. There's a moment in the storm when you stop asking, why me, and start declaring, try me. That's when the shift happens. That's when you stop begging for rescue and start becoming your own rescue. And let me tell you the truth that few are brave enough to say out loud. Your breakthrough won't arrive in silence and serenity. It will come after you've been misunderstood, underestimated, and stretched beyond your breaking point. The storm you're in is not a sign you're off path. It's confirmation that the old path no longer fits you. You prayed for purpose, but purpose will require you to be refined. You asked for success, but success demands you sacrifice comfort. You begged for clarity, but clarity is carved in the dark, not found in the light. So don't curse the storm. Study it. Lean into it. Let it strip away what you no longer need. Let it humble you, sharpen. You break you open, and then let it introduce you to a part of yourself that no peaceful day ever could. Because if you survive this, if you build in this, if you rise in this, you will never be the same. You will look back and say, that storm didn't end me, it made me. Stop and think for a second. When was the last time you truly asked yourself, am I playing to win or just playing not to lose? Because most people don't even realize they've been building cages with gold-plated bars. Comfortable, familiar, respectable. But cages nonetheless. They keep their dreams on a leash. tidy convenient, manageable, praying for something big, while their habits scream they're only prepared for something small. This is the brutal irony of modern ambition. We say we want more, but we behave like we're terrified of having it. We ask for overflow while clinging to the cup we've outgrown. We pray for the door to open, and then flinch when opportunity knocks, because it sounds like risk effort, responsibility, discomfort. But listen closely. You cannot claim a future that your character has not prepared to carry. You don't get overflow with a scarcity mindset. You don't get breakthroughs with the habits that built your breakdowns. And you definitely don't step into greatness with the same identity that kept you average. So let me speak clearly. You are not waiting on God or luck or the market or motivation. You are waiting on you. You to stop negotiating with the old you. You to stop outsourcing your power to everything but your own decision. You to finally cut off the backup plan, the maybe later, the if it feels right excuses, and to move not because you're ready, but because staying still is no longer an option. Because nothing about playing small is noble. Nothing about hiding is humble. And nothing about shrinking your light is spiritual. The world needs what you've buried. The world needs the you who shows up before they feel ready. The one who acts while the fear is still loud. The one who does the work in secret while everyone else is still wishing. The one who prays and prepares. Because faith is not just hoping for rain. It's digging trenches in a drought. It's showing up for the vision before it makes sense. It's laying brick after brick on a dream that hasn't yet paid you back because you're not building for applause, you're building from assignment. You weren't meant to be a spectator of greatness. You were meant to embody it. But embodiment requires consistency, sacrifice, ruthless honesty. And here's the most honest thing I can tell you: you will never attract what you refuse to become. You cannot play the role of the hesitant, half-hearted version of yourself while asking to be cast in a life of significance. You must choose. You either continue shrinking, settling, surviving, or you rise. You rise by removing everything that makes you soft. You rise by saying no more to the distractions that sell you comfort but steal your calling. You rise by deciding that what you're building is bigger than your moods, bigger than your fears, bigger than your past. And once that decision is made, the process is simple, not easy, but simple. You stop showing up only when you feel like it. You stop measuring effort by convenience. You stop praying for harvest and start breaking ground like your future depends on it, because it does. The distance between you and the life you say you want is not measured in luck, talent, or timing. It's measured in alignment. Are your habits aligned with your hopes? Is your routine aligned with your requests? Is your discipline aligned with the doors you want to walk through? Because if it isn't, nothing changes. You stay stuck in the loop, dreaming big, moving small, wondering why nothing shifts. But if it is, if your preparation matches your prayers, if your sacrifice matches your standards, if your work ethic matches your wishes, you become dangerous. You become someone who doesn't need to be hyped up to follow through. You become someone who doesn't beg for blessings. You build the structure to hold them. And when that happens, you'll look back at this season, the season where you stopped playing small. And you'll realize something powerful. God wasn't holding anything back from you. He was holding it for you. Until you were ready to receive it, with the strength to steward it. Until you had the discipline to carry what you used to only crave. Until you grew into the kind of person who doesn't shrink in the face of vision, but runs toward it with both hands open. Heart steady, eyes forward. Because the biggest breakthroughs are reserved for those who stopped praying for permission to live big and started moving like they were already chosen, already called, already equipped. And that right there is who you've been all along. You just needed to stop playing small long enough to remember. Somewhere between the thunder and the silence, between the chaos and the calm, something begins to change inside of you. It's not loud. It's not sudden. It's not a lightning strike. It's the quiet decision to keep going. That's what the storm was sent to reveal. Because when everything is stripped, the applause, the certainty, the validation, the momentum, all that's left is you and your choice. You can run or you can rise. And the ones who rise don't do it because they feel ready. They rise because they've finally stopped asking for perfect conditions. They've stopped needing guarantees. They've stopped negotiating with fear. They've decided this is who I become, regardless of what happens next. You can't control the wind, but you can build the wings. You can't control the timing, but you can control the training. You can't control the world, but you can command your focus. That's where your power lives, in what you choose, in the middle of uncertainty. And this is where most people crumble, not because the storm is stronger, but because their anchor wasn't set. Because their identity was borrowed. Because their standards were conditional. Because their dream was optional. But for those who are called, for those who are forged, the storm is not a threat. It's a forge. Steel doesn't become steel in still water. It's pressure that hardens it, heat that purifies it, blows that shape it, and repetition that makes it unbreakable. You don't become resilient by reading about it. You don't become disciplined by waiting for it. You become it in the storm. In the early mornings when no one's watching. In the nights when doubt is screaming louder than your dreams. In the failures that would have ended the old you. But not this version. Not this time. Because now you understand every delay was training your patience. Every setback was sharpening your resolve. Every unanswered prayer was building your endurance. The storm isn't the enemy. It's the entrance. To strength. To clarity. To a version of you the world was never supposed to recognize. You're not meant to stay the same. You're meant to evolve. But growth isn't gentle. It breaks before it builds. It tests before it transforms. It asks, will you keep going even when nothing makes sense yet? And how you answer not with your words but with your actions is what writes your future. And in that answer is everything. They told you the storm was a punishment. They told you the silence was God's rejection. They told you the delay meant you were unworthy. But they didn't see what was happening inside you. They didn't see the roots that were growing when nothing on the surface moved. They didn't see the inner battles that made you stronger in the dark. They didn't see how the breaking was the beginning of your rebuilding. They saw stillness, but heaven saw a blueprint being redrawn. And now comes the turning. Because the storm was never sent to destroy you. It was sent to strip you of what could not come with you. The doubt, the distractions, the dead weight of who you used to be. You see, growth doesn't come in comfort. Elevation doesn't come in applause. Transformation doesn't come with clear skies. It comes in the flood, in the fire, in the wilderness where everything familiar is gone and all you're left with is faith. And what is faith if it's only strong when you understand what is belief, if it collapses the moment things don't go to plan? No, your storm didn't come to punish you. It came to prove you. You don't rise because it's easy. You rise because deep in your bones, you know this pain has purpose. And maybe no one else can see it yet, but you can. That's why you keep going. Let them underestimate you. Let them talk like it's over for you. Let them whisper like your story already ended. Because one day, they'll see what the storm really made. They'll see that you didn't just survive it, you were sculpted by it. Your strength was baptized in fire. Your wisdom came from the wreckage. Your peace forged in chaos. And your power. Your power came when you stopped asking the storm to go away and started learning to walk through it with your head up. No more asking, why me? You already know the answer. Because you were called. Because something in you had to be built in silence. Because comfort couldn't craft the version of you that this calling demands. So stand up now. Wipe the rain from your eyes. You've cried enough. You've doubted enough. You've played small long enough. The storm is passing, but you are staying. Stronger, wiser, wider in spirit, sharper in focus, and ready not to return to who you were, but to walk boldly into who you've become. Remember this. The storm wasn't sent to break you, it was sent to build you. So don't crawl out of it. Rise from it. Let the thunder echo behind you. Let the silence ahead stretch wide with possibility. Because now, you're not praying for peace anymore. You are peace. You are proof. You are purpose wrapped in skin. And nothing the storm took compares to what it gave. So walk forward, unapologetically, undistracted, unshaken. You were built in the storm, and now, you're ready to build with it. So maybe it was never bad luck. Maybe it wasn't the timing. Maybe it wasn't the people around you. Maybe it was you. Not because you're broken. Not because you're incapable. But because somewhere along the line, you got used to calling survival enough. You made comfort your compass. You started mistaking delay for destiny. And your blessing. It's been waiting. Not on God, not on the world, but on you. To stop getting in the way. The truth is the universe doesn't hand power to those who want. It hands it to those who prepare. To those who build habits that match their prayers. To those who no longer need external permission to act like they're worthy. Your next level isn't waiting on another plan. It's waiting on another version of you. One that moves without second guessing. One that honors the vision even when no one claps. One that understands you can't walk like a question mark and expect an exclamation point life. So here's what you do now. Stop apologizing for your power. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Stop delaying the greatness that's been whispering your name. Because if you can't even hold the weight of discipline, what makes you think you're ready for the weight of the blessing? Your future is allergic to excuses. It wants clarity. It wants courage. It wants the version of you who finally decided, I will not sabotage this again. Now breathe and move different, because this time you're not just praying for it. You're walking like it's already yours. Roll credits. Fade to black.